Welcome back to Philosophy Unpacked. Today we're diving into a really intense chapter from Nietzsche's Thus Spoke Zarathustra called The Pale Criminal.
That title alone is very evocative. When I hear pale criminal, I imagine someone pale with fear before committing a crime. But I have a feeling Nietzsche means something different.
You've hit on the exact point. For Nietzsche, this criminal isn't pale with fear, but with the crushing weight of the idea of his crime after it has already been committed.
So it's not the action itself that breaks him, but the thought of it afterward. That's a fascinating distinction to start with. Can you elaborate on that?
Absolutely. Nietzsche separates the thought, the deed, and the image of the deed. The criminal was strong enough to perform the act, but his mind couldn't handle the label of murderer.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like he could do the thing, but he couldn't live with himself being seen or seeing himself as the kind of person who does that thing.
Precisely. Zarathustra calls this a kind of madness after the deed. The criminal becomes obsessed, forever seeing himself as the doer of that one single act, and it paralyzes him.
Nietzsche uses a strange analogy about a streak of chalk in a hen. How does that fit into this idea of being paralyzed by the past deed?
It's a perfect, simple image. Just as a hen can be mesmerized and trapped by a simple line drawn on the ground, this criminal is mentally trapped by the stroke he struck.
So his reason is weak, and it gets fixated on this single point in his past, unable to move forward. He's defined himself entirely by his worst moment.
Exactly. And this is where the character of the red judge comes in, representing society's conventional and, in Nietzsche's view, shallow system of justice.
Okay, so how does this red judge see the situation? I'm guessing he doesn't have this deep psychological insight that Zarathustra does.
Not at all. The judge asks, why did this man murder? And answers with a simple motive. He wanted to rob. It's a clean, logical, and easily digestible explanation.
But Zarathustra says that's completely wrong, right? He suggests the real motive was something much darker and less rational than just wanting money.
Yes, he claims the criminal soul didn't want loot. It wanted blood. It thirsted for the happiness of the knife. This points to a deep, primal, and chaotic urge.
Wow, so the robbery was just a cover story that the criminal told himself, a way to make his terrifying, irrational desires seem logical and understandable.
That's the core of it. His weak reason couldn't accept this inner madness, so it persuaded him to attach a simple motive like robbery to the act. He was ashamed of his own true nature.
So in a way, he tried to clean up his own motive to make it less horrifying to himself, but it seems that didn't actually help him at all.
It made things worse. Now, Zarathustra says, the lead of his guilt lies on him again. His weak reason, having supplied a false motive, is now benumbed and paralyzed.
Why is it paralyzed? Is it because he's trying to feel guilty for robbery, which wasn't the real drive, so the guilt feels hollow and confusing?
That's a great way to put it. He's trapped by a guilt that doesn't match the internal reality of his experience. He can't process the true madness, so he's stuck with a lie.
Nietzsche has that line, "Could he only shake his head, then would his burden roll off." What does that shake of the head symbolize here?
It symbolizes breaking free from this fixed, paralyzing idea. It's about rejecting the simple, rationalized label and confronting the chaotic truth of his inner world, however terrifying it might be.
This leads into another powerful metaphor Nietzsche uses, describing the man as a coil of wild serpents. What is he trying to tell us with that image?
He's telling us that this person isn't a unified self making a rational choice. He is a collection of conflicting, warring drives and desires that are rarely at peace with one another.
So the crime wasn't a decision made by a whole person, but more like an eruption of one of these serpents or conflicting forces within him.
Exactly. And his conscious mind, the poor soul, then looks at this inner turmoil and suffering and misinterprets it, labeling it as a simple, murderous desire.
It seems like a central theme here is the failure of our rational minds to truly understand the deep, chaotic forces that actually drive us.
That's a perfect summary. This is why Zarathustra is so critical of the judges. He tells them their slaying of the criminal should be pity and not revenge.
What's the difference in his view?
Why should the judges feel pity instead of a sense of righteous revenge for the crime committed?
Because they are judging a man they don't understand. They see a villain or a sinner. Zarathustra wants them to use different words: invalid, fool, sick one.
He wants to reframe the entire concept of crime from a moral failing to a kind of psychological sickness or internal brokenness. Is that right?
Yes, precisely. And he goes even further. He says when you execute this man, your sorrow should be love to the Superman, which is a very complex idea.
Okay, let's break that down. How can the execution of a criminal be an act of love for the Superman? What does that even mean in practical terms?
It means using this tragedy not for revenge, but as a motivation to create a better, higher form of humanity, one that can understand and master its inner chaos, unlike the pale criminal.
So the criminal's failure should inspire us to become more self-aware and psychologically whole so we don't fall into the same traps. It's about learning, not punishing.
You've got it. It's about justifying your own survival by striving for something greater. Punishment as simple revenge is a primitive and unproductive response.
Nietzsche also seems to suggest that the judges themselves aren't so innocent. He mentions the red judge and what would happen if he said his thoughts aloud.
He does. He implies that everyone, even the good people and the judges, has these dark, chaotic thoughts. The only difference is they don't act on them.
So the judge is a hypocrite in a way. He condemns the criminal for an act that stems from impulses that the judge himself might also possess in secret.
That's the implication. Zarathustra feels disgust for the good people, not for their evil, but for their self-satisfied virtue that just helps them live long, comfortable lives.
He almost seems to wish they had a madness of their own, as long as it was for something noble like truth or justice, instead of just complacency.
Yes, he prefers a passionate, chaotic striving, even if it fails, to a safe and stagnant existence. He desires a passionate pursuit of higher values.
This all comes together in his final powerful statement in the chapter. How does he conclude this very intense discussion about crime and human nature?
He ends with a warning and a declaration. I am a railing alongside the torrent. Whoever is able to grasp me may grasp me. Your crutch, however, I am not.
That sounds like a challenge. What is he saying to the reader there? Is he offering help or telling us we are on our own?
He's offering guidance, a railing, for those strong enough to navigate the dangerous torrent of these ideas, but he's not an easy answer or a crutch for comfort.
So Nietzsche's philosophy isn't meant to be a simple comfort blanket. It's a tool for the strong, a challenge to confront uncomfortable truths about ourselves.
That's the perfect way to end it. He provides the insight, but the work of understanding and overcoming your own inner chaos is a journey you must take for yourself.